Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tavern Knights. I'm
Tavern
Chris.
Talk. Tavern Talk.
Tavern Talk. That's right. It's Tavern Talk. I always want to say Tavern Knights because that's what I would rather be doing right now is actually
Oh,
playing D&D
I
than
would
actually
rather be
talking
doing that.
about it. So,
I agree.
but yes, it's Tavern Talk where we talk about D&D and Tavern Knights. So, I'm joined by Pete, who's up above me right now. Russ is technically working, I guess you would say. He's there. The fireworks are tonight, the Freedom Festival fireworks, and
Oh, okay.
his company is sponsored by the group that puts them on or something like that. So he's kind of they throw a big party and everyone from uh the parade company is kind of expected to go.
Oh, understandable.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Renee is off at an obedience class with one of our. So it's just me and Pete tonight.
It's all right. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and it's we're kind of it's kind of good though because we're kind of in a point where we're there's a lot of focus on your character, so we can get it.
Yes.
Um, while we are sitting here, I'm gonna try and do something quick because try.
Well, it's coming in pretty nicely, I think.
Yeah, I'm not happy with the gaps, so we're just gonna. This is gonna look kind of ugly when I do it probably, but probably black out the whole.
You're just trying to rearrange the way that it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and fix it real
Format.
quick. I mean, I should have done this beforehand, but um, I don't think all the way. There we go.
Oh, and I think it just went blank.
There we go. And we're fixed. All right, that looks a little bit better. The blacks don't quite match, but it looks better than it did. So,
Okay, yeah, that
um,
looks good to me.
yeah. So, welcome to the show, everybody. Um, yeah. So, Tavern Knights. We just did. What was our
There,
21st episode?
I've been keeping track from the very beginning more rather than
Oh,
from when we
yeah.
actually
When we went live.
went public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is it for our? What are we at for
Overall, this was our 33rd session.
33rd session?
Like
Okay.
before, like we went live, going all the way back to the very beginning pre-stream.
Hmm.
So this would have been our 33rd time that we met up for a game.
Okay. That's cool. I'm glad somebody's keeping track of that because I lost
I,
track a while back. I haven't
No,
got.
I think Renee's keeping track as well. I have my notebook, and every single start of the session, I do the session, the date, and then so that way I can kind of keep track of our progression and any notes so I can reference them back to a particular point in time. I also keep track of my lucky feat in case if it ever comes up, so that way I know that it was worth taking that feat. Uh,
um, yeah, I think it's been worth it. Uh, the so it's good that you're taking notes as well because we you guys are going to need somebody to play secretary after this Friday. This Friday is going to be the last time that Renee can play secretary for quite a while.
right.
She's actually going to be having a hard time um, doing a lot of things.
Is it on
Uh,
her right shoulder that
it's her
she's
right shoulder, yeah.
okay?
So she's not going to be able to write. Really, she's not going to be able to do a lot of things. But yes, Renee is having shoulder surgery next week, so um, it's just
But
outpatient stuff. And but she's going to be down for quite a while. So
I try and keep as good notes as I can in terms of story. Also, with any loot that we happen to come across, what everyone's cut would be, and whether or not I added it into D&D Beyond, so that way I know that it's appropriately captured. I try and keep track of all that as well as general notes regarding story. Sometimes I have to really like gloss over it a little bit because sometimes it just comes so fast, like when we were learning doing that research about Vecna, for example. there's a lot of lore dump that you gave us. So I'm really grateful that at one point you actually compiled that all into a document that we were able to reference that is in Forge,
Yep.
the virtual tabletop that we can reference. But at the time, I'm scrambling to try and hit all the high notes of the particular people, what certain events happen, and so that way I can reference them. But you get in more detail, similar to what in the recent episode with meeting up an important character and getting a lot of backstory as well, and what's been going on, and trying to capture that.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to do it. I don't know how everyone else keeps track of anything. I know Renee is really good at note taking. I'm not sure about anyone else, how much that they bother with it, but I try
Yeah.
to do my best.
I don't know that Russ keeps notes at all, and I really don't think that Phelan or Lauka do.
I'm
Um,
not sure about Rich. I think he takes some,
I
but
think Rich takes some notes. Um, so who was the important character that you met that you take all the info on?
oh, right. That would be Modelin. Yeah, my Euchariah's mentor slash like surrogate mother, pretty much, that found him when he was a young child and essentially raised him until the big moment of that goblin attack. And there was a separation. Both of us thought that we were dead for a long time, and what kind of got me out and into the world from the life as a hermit, and where it eventually led to the Temple of the Open Mind and the start of the game. But I always thought that, or her, Euchariah's character always thought her to be dead because of there was no evidence of it, and there's the um, the hut that they lived in was pretty much burnt down completely, and he just ran off because he was just frightened and scared, and that's where his phobia of goblins essentially came about. Thinking that someone as powerful as she was able to be defeated by something as simple as a band of goblins, that kind of like solidified that
They
fear
chased you for a
within
couple
him,
days. So.
and chase him. It was like the combination of it, and that he was kind of never on his own. Always had this parental figure that was looking over him, even though he was a little. He got became an like he eventually became an adult. He's like in his like low 30s. He should have been able to hold his own, but he kind of grew up in a confined lifestyle, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he really couldn't. He just instead he just ran. Um, but about I think it was level 4 that we were getting third level spells. Is that when you get third
Level
level
5.
spells? Level 5. Okay. So with level 5, I particularly made sure that one out of the two spells that I learned was going to be sending. I wanted to make sure that I learned sending as soon as I can get to third level, so that way I can try and see if I can communicate if she was actually alive. I, wanted to continue on with that story, and a lot of it that was right around the time that we actually went live on our stream. I think, right? It was right
Uh,
around level 5. I think we hit level 5 in
was it?
at the end.
I thought you guys were more like level 3. When I'll have to go back and
No,
listen.
no, I think that we hit level 5 when we finished the Wave Echo, and we went
Oh,
live soon
yeah,
after Wave Echo, right?
yeah.
I think we didn't we finished Wave Echo, and then that's when we went live after that. So up to that point, his character always thought her to be dead, and we were already doing the stream via online versus in person. And whenever I cast sending traditionally, I was just IMing you. The everyone else wasn't aware, I don't think, that I was actually sending direct messages to you saying that I cast sending, trying to contact
Mm-hmm.
Modelin, and knowing the fact that she's alive. I don't think that I actually truly like said that to the group until a little bit later on, because my character is is more reserved and keeps to himself for the most part, but he's slowly opening up as being part of a group. I try and play that balance the best that I can.
Yeah. Yeah. Your character's actually come a long ways just from the beginning. Um, I still think it's funny that you want juice.
Yeah. It's funny like how like certain things that just kind of came off the like in the moment off the cuff, like when everyone else is getting beers and ales and whatnot, I just kind of threw that out there and then it actually just stuck. I had no plans for it to actually become anything, but everyone's reaction just kind of like built that into like his character and the fact that he doesn't drink. So then it became everyone's mission at one point to try and get Yukariah like tipsy or drunk. And there were some times like during the show, like by the end of the night, I was getting that way. And I think I was getting a little bit too much into character when like in those moments sometimes. But it's always been fun to like whatever try and throw in that like a juice comment along the way or like whatever the local like orchards happen to be wherever we go next, and trying to avoid any alcoholic drinks, but everyone else try and sneaks it in anyway. It's good fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. Um, I like the way that your character has interacted with some of the other characters too. Um, but really, where we're at now, this is a big point the in the actual like Yuguraya story,
Hmm.
because you guys were going to wanted to go to Greyhawk anyway, but you have multiple reasons to go there. But one of the main things that pushed you to go there was the
That
fact that
dream.
you had a dream
Hmm.
where you saw you saw yourself
As her.
as her. You didn't realize it was her at first, but you were holding a young girl's hand and you were running,
Hmm.
and you tripped, fell, and saw your reflection in a puddle and saw that you were modeling.
It,
And there was a an almost like recognition where the dream self modeling said, Eucharia, is that you? Come to Greyhawk, I need your help.
yes. And it was very interesting the fact that as soon as that happened, I communicated that to the group, and that kind of what led us to definitely go into Greyhawk, which, as you said, we kind of been teasing and playing around with what comes next, since we didn't know where the next part of the staff of Vecna was going to be. We don't have that particularly located, so we didn't have any particular place to go. We were talking about going to Greyhawk because of the larger town, so we can sell a lot of our stuff and get some new items that we've been searching for. But it was going to be a very long trip. Yeah, we were going to have to dedicate multiple sessions to get into that point, which we did. But that kind of really pushed us to going there for sure, for the storyline of it. But the fact that it was kind of interesting that there's this vision dream, but it wasn't actually something that happened in real life. It seemed like, based off of the sending messages, it didn't seem like that event happened. More that we kind of had a shared dream almost, that we were able to communicate to each other, which is probably some other deeper kind of magic. And I think that was even kind of called out in the last session by Renee and Rich's characters, that uh, we came here because of that, but it didn't actually happen. Maybe yet. I'm not sure. So it'd be interesting to see where it goes from here. But the fact that we were able to locate where she was, and for the most part, every time that I communicated with you that, hey, I'm sending a message to Modelin, and I'm asking like, where are you? And like, I'm safe and I'm doing this, and I hang with a group, and you kept like, no one else really knows about this, but you were sending me messages that were basically saying, now's not the time, my child. I will like tell you when I can. Um, be safe, essentially. Very elusive, very very vague about everything, not saying anything. Which I'm guessing you were pushing that, because I was doing that like when we were in what's it called, Stone Tooth.
Yeah,
I was like sending messages at the very end of the night when we were about to go to sleep, and if I had a third level spell slot, I cast that sending just to contact her, and you replied back, but it was all through IM. We weren't doing it verbally in any way, so no one else, not even people that are probably on the stream watching, would even know about it. That I was contacting her, but she was very elusive and not telling me that any information at all. I know that's just you kind of delaying it until this point when it was ready for the storyline to progress forward.
There's other
But
reason. There were other reasons too.
okay, and we haven't gotten to that part yet, but the fact that now, like, we're able to get to a point where find out where she is, and Yukurai's character immediately would want to gravitate towards getting back to her as soon as possible
Hmm.
in any way because of how important that she is to him. So, no, I'm really excited, like where it's going to go. Very interested in how it's going to progress. Um, and what it's going to lead to because I have no freaking idea. I think somehow it is tied. You're obviously not going to reply or like tell me anything, but I think it is somehow tied to like the overall arcing story, and it's going to be the next progression in the overall story that we may not be aware of yet, but it might be leading up to the next big clue that we might need. Is my guess at this particular point in time. I don't think it'll be like a big side quest. It may be just part of it that she's been part of the greater whole of the overall story as well. So, but yeah, I think that it played out very very well. I was really excited, like when like that first interaction. I wanted to like really like show that Yukuraya was excited so much to get to her that he couldn't even be bothered taking the extra couple seconds to run over to her. He had to like teleport to get to her those extra few seconds earlier, and just appear in her arms and that because he was just that excited after because it's been about what 3.5 years
Three
I
and a half
think
years, yeah.
in his storyline since that happened, and up to that point he thought that she was dead, and he only knew that she's been alive for the last couple of weeks essentially over the course of 3 years, that he didn't think that she survived that. So I was trying to like plan ahead how that interaction would actually play out. But the fact that you threw me for a complete loop, that that she has a like a new understudy essentially that is like helping her out, and that there's like this mission that she's been on, that she's just trying to investigate where the disappearances are coming from, and um, I was, it was like something that was really unexpected that I think is really interesting on what to follow up with.
Well, and you mentioned different disappearances too. That there are children disappearing from Shantytown,
Hmm.
from Shacktown, outside the gates, and then there are adults that keep going missing in River Quarter.
That's right.
So
So,
there's the differences.
hmm
There's definitely something going on in Greyhawk. You guys
oh
also have
yeah,
another reason to be in Greyhawk, other than just to
E-
sell stuff and things like that. And
yeah, but that actually occurred. We only discovered that when we already decided to go to Greyhawk, and it just happened to be essentially a happy coincidence that yeah, the book
yep.
with the ghost that is essentially embedded like within the book itself, like somehow cursed, or not exactly cursed because nothing seems to remove it. Octavian's character has cast every single thing that I think we can imagine to be able to remove that, and nothing has worked up to this point.
Hmm.
So something bigger is obviously driving it, but Klimbrum's character, Renee's character, found that book. I think when we were in the Temple of the Open Mind,
Yep. Yeah. It was.
she
She just
she
went.
took.
I'm just going to take a random book, is what she told me.
That's right, and that happened to be the random book. And then while we were traveling down, because it took a couple of weeks, I think, to get down to Gryrax, to
Yep.
Octavian's hometown, where we were going to go to get a boat to Greyhawk. That's when we found out that the book was a lot more than what it seemed. when all of a sudden a ghost that was essentially a mute because she didn't have her tongue um, came out, and there was a lot more involved. And actually, you gave us a bit of a lore dump as well with that, because we were for a long time trying to figure out everything in terms of you know trying to get any kind of information from her We did many multiple attempts, but I think that you were saying that with the amount of reading that Klimbrum's character has done, she was
Yeah.
able to get a lot of information. We
Over
knew that it was going to be in Greyhawk, but it was a lot more than what
yeah.
we got up to that point.
All basically what it was a bunch of stuff that she was able to glean from reading it over the weeks that it took you guys to go from Temple to Gryrax and
Yep.
Greyhawk. So anytime she was on the boat and had some free time, she was telling me she was constantly reading. She's read the diary multiple times,
Okay.
and so she's actually been able to get a lot of info out of it.
Yeah, you're talking about there's like I have all my see, and this is where like note taking out, like we were talking about. I have like the book is a magical. Yellowcrest Manor is in Greyhawk in the Garden District. That was all before we actually got there, and we knew that there was a Garden District. I think,
Hmm.
and then there was Lord Valis, I think, um, and Maria, and they had. Some kids, and Sarah, who is the ghost, worked for Maria, and she's the one who's in the book. So I tried to write down as much of that information as I can, um, but again, you're saying that that's another reason to going to Greyhawk because that seems to be where the book originated from.
That is, if you guys care about the mystery of
I do. I think that
it.
we've. I think that
Glimbrum's
you've.
Glimbrum's pretty invested.
I am pretty invested too. I think that's why, like at the start of the game last session, I was trying to say like, try and ask some questions about, hey, can we cast certain spells? I was reaching like asking Octavian, asking you, hey, can I forgot what spells that I was asking about, but I was trying to see if like there's um, you know, like the like to be able to detect anything, or maybe if we can read her mind or something like that, like cast
Hmm.
something to be able to read, like speak with dead or something like that, to see if there's any other way to formally communicate. I don't know how anyone else is invested with it, but I think that you've teased it enough to where it's worth following up. Um, and going through with it. And honestly, I think it's kind of tied with maybe with what you're saying with what modeling is like seeing, maybe with disappearances. Maybe they're two different things. Maybe they're somehow linked together. We don't know, but I think that is another thing that I'm going to be asking the group after we finish our shopping session, because half the game last time was just shopping,
And you guys
which
are
was
still, you guys still are
and we're
still in
still
the middle of shopping.
that's right. And I'm still like following up on what I want to look for next on that one. But after that, we're gonna probably start doing investigating, because I think it's gonna take like a couple weeks before, like at least 1 or 2 weeks before we get any of our stuff. So that's going to leave a lot of downtime to do that investigating,
Hmm.
to go to places and start questioning. So I'm guessing that next session, probably the first hour or so is finishing up our shopping, but then the rest of it is probably going to be that investigating, um, for both on behalf of what's going on with Model N, as well as probably Yellowcrest, because we know Yellowcrest is in Greyhawk. It's in the Garden District, I think, is what you said. We have some names of people to follow up with, like Veckin and uh, Farrell, like a, and so we know some people to actually like try and track down and talk to. So I
Yep.
figure that's probably where we're going to be focusing more things on for the next session, which I'm really excited about to see what comes from that.
Well, and you'll be going back to meet up with Maudlin as well
Yeah, the very next day,
the next
because
day.
we're gonna trying to get some more information from her. Yep.
You still have most of the city of Greyhawk to explore. You guys have barely scratched the surface of Greyhawk.
I
It's like
I
you
know.
guys are like in New York, is basically what it
I
is.
know. And I've never been in New York, but I can't even imagine. I think that we're probably going to be in Greyhawk, similar to like uh the in Critical Role, how much time that they spent in what's the one major city in the early on in the campaign.
Oh,
Um,
Rexentrum, the
No, with
Dash.
Zadash. They spent quite a bit of time in Zadash. I think they spent quite a few sessions there, and I figured that we're probably going to be quite a few sessions here in Greyhawk, following up with all that stuff until we hear otherwise of that. Oh, the staff of Vecna's like the location's found. Start going here. There's really nothing else to drive us to go anywhere else. We have so much to do right here. I figure we're going to be here probably for the next few sessions at least,
Oh yeah,
because of just how big it is.
you guys are gonna be in Greyhawk for a little while.
Yeah, which
Um,
I'm fine with. I'm excited about. I'm curious of like where it's going to lead. We have so many side quests to follow up with.
you've got a little
So
urban adventure going on now.
yeah, it's pretty cool because we
Um,
haven't actually gotten to this level of like a town that is this large that so much could happen.
right.
And there's the churches and guilds and so much to follow up with. Like everyone wants to go to like the Mages Guild, or no, I'm sorry, not the Mages Guild. The what's the that place that's there? Sorry, I'm going to my notes. Librum Arcanum.
Oh,
Uh,
which
that
is the mage training slash mages guild.
Yeah, which Raslam, who kind of sent us on our quest for everything from what Vecna is from, right? I think that he actually trained in the Librum Arcanum
Mm-hmm.
from Greyhawk. So I think
Yep,
everyone's
that's what he
kind
told you.
of
Was he is a member of the Librum Arcanum and has and trained there.
So I think everyone in our group is very interested in going there and throwing out that name and seeing everyone's reaction to it. Is it a good reaction? Is it a bad reaction? Or what? This kind of get a sense check of where Raslam is actually coming from. My character, Euchariah, is just fascinated by him, like with what he's able to teach and what his character can learn. I purposely have no doubts whatsoever about him or Madeline or anyone. That's just like character choices.
Mhm.
Well, everyone else is skeptical. I feel like I purposely am playing the character like 100% trustworthy, completely, because he doesn't know any better. He doesn't have as much interaction to have that kind of doubt of people yet. So I noticed that like everyone else's character is very, standoffish when it comes um, to Raslam, and even a little bit on at the last session with Modelin. Even I noticed that a few of them were kind of like curious and like not so sure exactly, but Euchariah's character was completely invested, completely trusting of it. But that's how I'm trying to play him, like with that more of the character concept
Mm-hmm.
behind it. And it may turn out that we find out that Raslam was, kicked out because he was dabbling in things that he shouldn't have been dabbling in. Who knows? We'll see. I'm sure that that'll be something that comes up.
You guys haven't even asked about where the Librum is, where the Librum
Haven't
Arcanum
gotten that
is, or
far.
anything like that. So,
No, we're just excited to sell our shit.
I'm interested for you guys to get to that point too. But yeah, you guys have there. That's another reason for it to be in Greyhawk is to try and kind of feel out this mysterious mage that just showed up.
That has all this money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can like build a tower and fix our mansion up and give it to us and basically have like an unlimited supply of gold,
Well, the
more or
town gave
less.
you the mansion. He did that as part of you retrieving the.
But he gave us like 10,000 gold, and then the amount of gold that went into fixing it up was supposed to be like $10,000 or 10,000 gold too, I think, something along those
Yeah,
lines.
it was a lot to fix up the manor. It
Yeah,
basically got rebuilt from the.
and we got essentially prize money for what we did as well. That was in
Mhm.
like the sum of 10,000. So he obviously has enough to spare, and then he had plenty, like from you can tell like from his living arrangements. So like how did he come by that? That's why I think a lot of others were skeptical about this guy, but my character is just like, no, teach me everything that you can, essentially. um, but like purposely, glossing over that and not being skeptical about it, because he's just all about learning and being in awe about that stuff. So I've been trying to play that rather because everyone else is playing the skeptic on everything.
Yep.
So, but yeah,
Um,
I'm really excited. I think that the next session, I think we're going to the other like magic shop.
Yes, you guys just left the awkward staff,
That's right.
and you are heading to. I got my here. You heading to Arcane Affinity.
Okay. Are they on the same level, or they deal with different kinds of um, like spell or not spells, but like magical items or anything like that? I'm guessing that's more
You
of the
don't
place that.
know.
Oh, okay.
You
I'm
have to
guessing
go
that's the
find
place that.
out.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's the place where I get more like my inks and papers and whatnot.
That is actually one of the things that you had heard was that Arcane Affinity, while they had some magic items, they dealt more with components and um, supplies.
Yeah.
They're up near Clerksburg, which is where the universities are, and Liber
Okay.
Arcanum and all. So they deal a lot with students from
Okay.
the various universities.
Okay. Just curious, you know, I tried to look online just to get a sense check. What would be like how much would like 50 gold worth of paper and ink for wizard actually be in like real life? Are you talking like a few sheets with like a vial of ink, or is it like if I were to get like 500 gold worth, is it just so ridiculous that it wouldn't be realistic that he would be holding all that?
Well, where a lot of it comes from, one, paper is rare. Paper is very valuable because it's not easy to make in a fantasy setting.
Okay.
And two, the inks that you're getting are really where a lot of that money goes into, because to be able to scribe spells, the inks have to be made a certain way. They're not just plain ink.
Okay.
They're ink with a bunch of components built in that make them slightly magical. I mean, they don't
Okay.
really radiate magic, but they help with the scribing of magical spells, and you have to have certain things in there. You know, you'd have to have powdered pearls or powdered, other
Okay.
things and things like that, just to have them in there to mix with it to be able to actually hold the spell in place.
Gotcha. But I'm just saying, like, if we go to this place and they say, like, oh, like I think actually in Gryrax, I had Klimbram go and like get me a certain amount. I think she got me like 200 gold worth of paper and ink, and that's currently what I have in my inventory right now is like 200 gold of ink and paper. Is that realistic that I'm holding on to that? Or if when we get, but I think that there is up to like 1,000 that would have been available in Gryrax, and I'm guessing Greyhawk would be something similar. If I were to like buy that and just like have it on inventory, I'm just trying to get like an idea. Like, would it be even reasonable that I would actually carry that much, or would I be saying like, you know what, I want to buy it, but hold on to it for me until I happen to get more, spells that I can eventually transcribe, like the two spells that I'm trying to get right now. Um, because it just seems like it would just be like this gigantic stack of papers that just makes no sense that my character would be like pulling around.
It would probably be quite a bit,
Yeah.
but I mean, it all goes into like how much you need to scribe spells, and I know that's a certain thing. You have to have so much ink and paper to be able
Yeah,
to
it's like
scribe.
it's 50 gold per level, unless if it's in my school of magic.
Right. Then it's half.
Yeah,
Um, so I mean, really, it's not that much. It's like I said, more of it's probably going to go towards the ink
makes sense.
than
Okay.
towards the actual paper.
Okay, and the paper is just like notes. Eventually, it's supposed to like go into more of the spell book, but I think that the idea behind it is like I'm taking notes with the papers, and then eventually, when I figure it out, I transcribe it
Into your spell
officially
book.
into the spell book.
Right. And
Yes.
your spell book can only hold so much, and then you have to get a new spell book.
How does that come into play then?
Your spell book can actually only hold so a lot of time. Yeah, I don't really worry about it, at least not yet. I
Okay.
may have to go in and figure out what the standards are, but your spell book can only hold so many levels of spells
Oh,
because it
I was
only
not
has so
aware of
many
that.
pages.
Okay.
And generally, so what I've always heard is spells are one page per level.
Okay.
So a first level spell takes 1 page. A second level spell takes 2, third takes 3, four takes 4.
Makes sense. Okay.
And then so you've got like a spell book with, say, 200 pages in it.
Okay.
You have 200 spell levels worth of spells.
All right. I understand that. That makes sense. But if I happen to get beyond that, then I would need a second spell book, you're
Right.
saying. Okay. That's interesting. I don't think that I've ever seen that or come across that. It's not really defined, so I'm guessing it's more like DM discretion essentially.
It pretty much. I mean, you can say that, I don't I don't think it's realistic to have you just having this ever expanding spell book that winds up,
Yeah.
like
No, it doesn't.
this giant 2 foot across or a foot across
No.
thing. And you're like, chunk. You pull that out of your bag and
No.
just
I agree, yes, but I'm just curious. What like and you've been pretty good about like not because I think that with all the magical things that you're like wondering if like we want any magical items in that, and one of the things that I actually wasn't anticipating, my character wanting any kind of magical items. I was just looking at potential spells because I had some spell scrolls that were duplicates, and I'm just trying to get them replaced with something that I know that I would need or that would be beneficial. But beyond that, I know that you really haven't done anything in terms of like, I know some DMs would play around with the idea that endangering a wizard spell book. You really haven't. But one of the things I was looking online when I was trying to think like, okay, well maybe I do want like some magical items. What's something that would be beneficial for me as a wizard? I already have two, but it doesn't necessarily have to be attuned. But I noticed like there's like the enduring spell book, which is something from Xanathar's that will protect against like fire damage or water damage. Um, and it's like a common item and can be like an enchantment or you can buy it or something like that. I'm not, I was going to probably ask about that in the next game because I was kind of thinking about it after the fact. But you really haven't played around with the fact that like my spell book could be endangered, but for the mind, like just for like my own mindset, maybe it's worth the little bit of gold that would be just to have that like enchantment put in or something like that. So um, I know that there are some probably campaigns that actually make that a risk because if a wizard spellbook is lost, then I only know the spells that I happen to have prepared and memorized in my mind at that point in time,
yep.
and then I'm going to have to relearn everything else.
And your
Um,
cantrips. You never lose your cantrips.
Correct. But everything else, so like I might have 25 spells, but only 16 prepared, then I lose 10 spells that might be pretty important if I don't have those like really important ones prepared
Mm-hmm.
at that particular time. Um, so I've been trying to think of that as well going into the next session that I wanted to ask for. So,
Okay. Yeah,
but
just we can talk
yeah,
offline too. So,
sure.
um, hell of a storm going on out here right now.
I'm hearing it too.
Yeah, I
I
just
was
saw
just
the
about to ask
flash
that.
of lightning. That's why I was like, "What the? Oh." Um,
It's supposed to be raining like all week long, and the last couple days it's
yeah.
been pretty crazy.
Well, yeah, we had one of the expressways just 94 was completely flooded.
How's your street been? I know your street is prone
We
to flooding.
we've been okay. That when we had that big flood, there was a blocked rain
Oh, okay.
is what it was what caused that.
Hmm.
So, um, went out and cleared that, and everything's been fine since. It's clear. But yeah, it's they're saying we were like 6 inches below normal for rainfall for this year, and they
Oh,
said
really?
this next week we will catch up.
I'm certain of it. Yeah,
That
it's
we're supposed to
been.
get 5 inches of rain in like 4 days.
Yeah. I know it was supposed to rain today, but then I checked the weather a couple hours ago and it said that no rain, and now all of a sudden it's back again.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
because it's so hot and muggy out that they're like pop-up storms. We're not getting like the big wave of storms
mhm.
coming through, but they're a storm that'll pop up, get really intense, and then dissipate. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but back to D&D though.
Yeah.
I was looking it up. Spellbooks have 100 pages.
Oh, okay. So that's 100 spell levels.
Yeah,
So
they say it's actually. I'll have to look it up to look. But they're saying that basically that's 100 spells, so it's one spell per page. But I think the bigger spells should take more pages. So we'll see. We'll see about that.
I can tally it up. It's not that hard. Cantrips I already know they're not actually in spell books, right?
Right, cantrips you don't have to worry about. They are something that you've practiced enough that you never have to memorize them. But yeah, so oh, here we go. In other editions, there used
Oh.
to be a rule that um, in 5e there isn't an explicit number of spells the spellbook can contain. In other editions, there used to be a rule that a level 1 spell takes 1 page, a level 2 spell takes 2 pages, etc. Spellbooks are 100 pages, so depending on the spell, the max is.
Yeah, and I actually it's I'm not gonna have to worry about that for a long while because I'm just
Yeah.
quick math that I'm not even like paying much attention to, just kind of going through. I think I'm only at like 38 or 40 or something like that. If you're to like do it that way,
Hmm.
where one spell level per page, um, it's only that's all that I'm at right now is like right around the 40-ish. So
Yeah.
I think
Then
that I probably won't have to really worry about that potentially until what, like level like 11 or 12 probably.
maybe
That,
not even then.
yeah. I'm just thinking
Um,
like it's going to be like the next levels are going to be like the next one where I'm probably going to take two fourth level spells and then two fifth level spells after that. So yeah, you're right. It may not even be until like 14 or 15 that that even becomes a concern.
and by then we may not care.
Yeah.
You may have found other spell books and things by because remember, you guys defeat a wizard, you find his spell book, you've got his spell book.
That's I remember that. I remember that's why I think when we were fighting the Black Spider, I'm not sure if the Black Spider was actually a wizard or a warlock, but I was asking the very specific question: do I find a spell book on him? Because that's what I wanted. I wanted to see if he actually had a spell book for that. But if I find another wizard spell book, don't I have to still like transcribe that over into
I
mine though?
I'll have to look that up and how it is in fifth
I
because
can't. I think that I still have to transcribe
you
it
have
based
to
off of what
learn
I
them
know.
still. You um can't just know them. I think you still have to learn the spells.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what happened with Razulum with my Fireball spell. I tried to do it through the scroll, which failed. But then with Razulum, I used his spell book to transcribe it into my own, and he was kind of guiding me. And I thought that unless if there's something else going on where I can like interpret like another spell book that I happen to find, and I'm guessing that would use some sort of components or like paper and ink to get an understanding of it. I probably just because I think that you mentioned before that it's based off of like the own character's like unique understanding of
Yep.
spell would be different from one to another.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's your interpretation may not be the same. Like the way that you cast Fireball may be very
Yeah.
different than the way Raslam understands how to cast it.
Yes, that's what I thought. That's the way that I thought you described it. So I don't think I can just pick up if I happen to find another spell book. I don't think I can just pick it up, understand it, and just start casting it from there. If it now all of a sudden becomes mine, I think that I have to somehow study it. I don't know. Maybe we talk offline if that ever happens to come to fruition, or do I just try and do like, all right, well, I see it and I try and interpret it and then put it into my own spell book, maybe. So I don't know, but that was my understanding of like what you would have to do. You can learn it from someone else's spell book, but you'd have to still go through the process. You're not gonna if you fail. I think that you can. It's not like going to disappear like a scroll would be,
Right.
but you would learn use up the paper and ink and have to try again essentially. But you don't lose the spell the way that a scroll would happen, like where it would just disappear if you fail it your check.
Right.
So
So yeah, but yeah, we probably won't have to worry about that much. the I am looking forward to you guys getting more into Greyhawk. So yeah, where we left off, you guys made it to Greyhawk, got yourselves settled into one of the inns in Greyhawk.
Yep.
Kind of picked one at random. Um, it was
Just like on
the
a,
Barge Inn.
yeah, kind of like a larger one that's more in the one of the middle districts, I think.
It's actually in right on the edge of the river quarter and the foreign quarter.
That's right. Yeah.
It's in the river quarter, but it's right on the edge of the foreign. And it is one of the larger ones in the area. It's decent, um, but it is rowdy. It is definitely a rowdier inn. It's run by a dwarf,
That's
uh,
right. Yeah.
and yeah, you guys haven't spent a lot of time there yet. You got yourselves rooms,
Situated and
yeah,
then left right
situated.
away.
I think you had some food, and then you headed out to go shopping.
Oh,
So
I think the first thing we did was we checked in, then went to Model Ins,
yeah,
tried, found her, got up to speed, got the story, and then we were planning on meeting the next day, which we're still in the same day right now, in the middle of the day, and
yep.
then we went back up, went did our shopping, which took quite a bit of time because we had a lot to sell. We had like a year and a half's worth of loot that we had to sell. Um, and then it was our first real chance to start requesting some just magical items of any kind, um, which I think that we all were very interested in what like potential like items that we could actually get. Um, I know that we were all interested. Unfortunately, we didn't have everyone that was in the last game. We didn't have Ian or Sydney, but it was pretty well known that Ian's been asking for that cape of billowing for quite some time.
Yep.
He's been talking about that since the moment we talked about going to Greyhawk. So we commissioned that, and then my character Ukraia like had some spell scrolls that were duplicates that I thought that can we do like a trade essentially for scrolls that I would like to have instead. I think there's a few other commissions overall. I think that um, there's a really good upgrade in terms of armor for one of the, for one of them. I didn't write it down
Yeah,
because it's not my character, but
Marikaris.
the
You
big
guys
upgrade
traded the great axe that you had,
plus
magical
two,
great axe, +2 for some +1 full plate mail for Marikaris.
which I think bumped him up to an AC of like 21 already.
He gets like a 22 when he casts his Shield of Faith now.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
Which for seventh level, I think is pretty damn high.
That's pretty high for any level. That's that's pretty impressive. And it was just something I randomly rolled up, and I wasn't thinking about the fact that it was worth about the same as that +2 great axe.
Was it worth about the same?
Yeah,
Okay, because I know that we were questioning that because Marikaris was trying to negotiate, rolled pretty crappy, and you put out a number out there, and he wasn't really happy with the +2 value of it. So that's where I think it led into the trade, and you said that you actually happened to
well,
randomly roll for that.
and that's the
So
thing. So there's also the difference between bartering and selling. So to sell something, it's like getting in-store credit versus getting a refund. You're
yep,
you're going to get more in the in-store credit than you will in the refund. So offering to give him the axe for the armor, it's a one-for-one trade. He's like, okay, I can do that. But if you just want to sell him the axe, he's gonna say, okay, it's worth. I can give you this much because then he's gonna have to turn around and resell it. Doesn't know how
try
long
and
it's
make
gonna
a
take him to
profit.
sell it. It's gonna so that's money out of his pocket until he resells it, and then he
Mm-hmm.
has to make a profit on it. So
Yeah, but you just happen to roll that particular +1 plate armor.
I rolled
So
randomly for all of the magic items that Borislav Botev had in
God,
his
I love
shop.
that. Yeah, I think we all love that name and his character. Yeah, but is that like was that all like? Do you have like a random sheet? Like is it like one like a D100? And you
There, in the Dungeon Master's Guide, there's a treasure list, and there's a random magic item
okay?
and I would rolled on. I would just go, I'm going to roll on this one, and I'd roll a D100 and say, okay, that's this. If it was too powerful, I would go, nope, we're not going to do that. We'll do something else. I tried to
Makes
stay
sense.
away from the higher end stuff, and just went with like the more the mid range stuff.
Small to mid, yeah, because that's where we're at right now.
Yep.
We're in the small to mid at this point in time. You want to give us an item that would be something that we would find at level 16, I'm guessing.
Right. And I don't want to unbalance the campaign. Um,
Yeah.
his armor class is getting close. Um, to be honest, I'm gonna have to throw some nasty shit at you guys that can some people that can really hit well to be able to even damage him at
Mhm.
all.
Well, I think that we're like our characters are up for that type of a challenge coming forward. I think that there for the most part, I think that all of our I feel like a lot of our battles have been for the most part in our favor. Like we can tell that they're going to be in our favor. It's been kind of going through. There's only been like two or three that really put us on edge because of just like arrogance and like just
Kobolds,
hmm?
kobolds.
Yeah, well, that's where the arrogance or like poor decisions. Like with the kobolds, I cast like I wasn't aware of the overall surrounding of where we were at, and I cast like that enlarge spell, and that kind of really played a big hindrance. I thought it was going to be helpful, but it was a hindrance to it. But it made some for really good role play and some good combat that was really putting us on edge. That I thought was really good for us to kind of like that we as a party actually kind of needed, because the prior one that we struggled with was with that Orcus battle and that evil mage and the succubus and all that, like
And
that
part
kind of
of that was just the sheer size of that room. Each
yes.
each one of those fights, the ones you guys had the most difficulty with, the environment played a huge role in
Absolutely,
what you
yes.
did. And it was a huge open room, so you had to try and get across the room to engage anything.
Hmm.
And the other one was a bunch of little caverns that only one of you could fit through at a time.
Yeah, but I, like my character made like a bad call to enlarge uh the dwarf monk that blocked everything, and then she went down, and we were able to make it through, but it took big challenge to be able to get there. And there's
You
been
guys, you guys had the forest fight too. I'm gonna burn this fucking forest down.
That was Lauka. I didn't cast.
Yeah.
I don't think I cast Fireball during that one. I think
You
that
did.
I did. I
Yeah.
There was two forest ones. I know I cast Fireball
Yeah,
once.
you cast she cast one, you cast one, she cast two more. You only
Oh,
cast
maybe.
one.
Okay.
But
Yeah. And yeah.
and she
Uh,
missed with one. That's when she did
that's
the
right.
I'm gonna burn this whole fucking forest down.
Which is hilarious that like her character just doesn't give a shit about that and just goes
She's a
ahead and
city
just
elf.
is. Well, she's also supposed to be like more ice magic based, I think,
Yeah.
rather than fire, and she loves her fire. I think, and I kind of like that. It kind of plays with. She's kind of intrigued by the opposite of what she is, almost like she's like always going for that. But she just learned that really cool new spell, Ice Storm,
Yep.
that actually she cast in two sessions ago when we first like soon after we leveled up to 7, and but it was a pretty cool spell in the end. um, so I haven't been able to cast my cool 4th level spell yet, but I'm sure it'll come across. And then we also have the new spell that my character has come across that we've teased for quite a while and haven't done the full reveal yet, but I'm really excited for that first battle that I can actually introduce that coming up, hopefully sometime soon.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. That's gonna be a situational one. It's all gonna depend
Absolutely.
on when you want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was kind of the idea behind it, that it would be more situational. But when it I do have it and I do cast it, hopefully it does something pretty cool, that I'm able to play around with it. If not, then I just had fun like working with it. All the role play that went into it over the course of the last what like 4 or 5 months has just been so much fun. Just adding that in there uh, has been enjoyable as well, and then kind of teasing it to just one party member, to Renee's character, to Klimbrum, has been a lot of fun as well. I've been really enjoying that. And then when the full reveal, whether or not it's situational, and I rarely cast it, it gets better when it's at higher levels. But I think that'll be really cool when everyone realizes what the heck it is.
Yeah. So the other thing that we're talking about, hopefully being able to do soon, is getting back together around the table.
Yes.
I believe I have just about everything that I need.
Oh, great.
Uh,
Okay. We
I
did a
am,
couple trials. We were there a couple weeks ago, and we're
yeah.
trying to do some
Now
tests.
I need to do another one with everything now that I think I've got it all. Um, and getting it set up. It's going to depend on how I want to set things up too. I mean, I've actually thought about moving the table and like making it more diagonal to get a
Okay.
little bit better thing. So I'd be back in the corner rather than against the wall. So I mean, it would,
I know what you're talking
yeah.
about. Yeah.
So I mean, it would, and then you guys be down this way, and then that way it's just you got wall and wall instead of having like open basement type of thing.
Yep.
Um, so because I mean, we really do play in the nerd basement. I mean, that's it's legit in the we play in the basement. So
Yep.
um, we'll have to see what we do there. But right now, with a lot of the work I need to do down there and getting things cleaned up from COVID and all this, it's we're probably looking at early August for getting together.
Okay.
Got at least two more where we'll be doing it online, and then it'll be a matter of what how people are feeling and whether or not they can commit to coming out.
Yeah, because I think that was one of the biggest problems that we had was like it's a lot easier online, to
Hmm.
be able to commit to that time where you don't have to worry about the travel, or balancing out schedules as much, um, because you don't have people getting off work or like events or what have you. You're able to just be like, all right, well, Friday nights, every other Friday, we have these 4 hours that we're trying to target, and all you have to do is just get on 5 minutes prior and jump online, and then we're able to get going. Where any some people might have a bit of a commute to get over to your place, and then by the time we finish, it'll be traditionally pretty late, unless if we did it before when we were in the very beginning when we were doing it starting at 11 o'clock in the morning, but then like and going from like 11 to 4 on Sundays. But then, well, you kind of ruin everyone's Sunday, almost. Like
Yep.
you can't really do anything. You have to give up that entire day, because by the time you're done, oh, it's the evening already, and then you're trying to wind down and then get ready for the next workday, essentially. That's why I think that Fridays are great. I would hope that we can continue doing it on Fridays, Friday evenings, even when we get back together around the table. Uh, but then again, people are leaving at like midnight. Then people are getting tired, especially
Yeah.
after maybe they had a couple drinks. But
Yeah. That's really one of the problems with doing it when we do it because I mean everybody works full time. I mean we
yeah,
this isn't our job. It's not we're not Critical Role. This isn't our job. And even Critical Role, I mean they're starting at like 7 o'clock their time and playing till 11, which that's fine. We could do a 4 hour game. That's not a big deal.
yeah,
The thing is that they also do it every week,
yeah,
which makes it easier to do a shorter game.
yes,
If you're gonna do a game every week, you can do a 3.5
three
to 4 hour
hour,
game
yeah,
and still get a lot done and feel like you're progressing the story because you know you're going to come back next week and continue. So it's one of those things where we do it every other week. So doing 4 to 5 hours, yeah, it's a long time, but unfortunately, that's kind of what it takes to really be able to progress the story and feel like you're getting somewhere.
Well, we're
Um,
approaching 2 years pretty soon. In a couple months, we'll be starting this campaign for 2 years, and we're at
well,
maybe we'll be at eighth level by that point. But it.
when we first started, we were only playing once a month as
I
well.
know. Yeah, for the first 6 to 8 months, yeah, we're doing it once a month,
Yep.
and then that's when we started doing, like, when COVID hit, we started doing it pretty much every 2 weeks instead.
Yeah, and then when we started the stream, we started doing it every 2 weeks.
Thought we did it before then, like when we were doing
Maybe.
like I thought when COVID started, I think we started doing it every 2 to 3. We were still kind of figuring things out depending on like how everything was going on. There's so many
Yeah.
unknowns back then, but definitely by the time the stream hit, we started doing it every 2 weeks. So,
Yep.
but that was about a year after we started. But if you're looking at, like you said, the overall amount of hours that we've put into it already, in terms of like 4 hours per session and 33 sessions, there's a certain amount of hours.
Yep.
And I don't want to go back to once a month. Once a month was, like, for me, I don't know how it is for everyone else, but I got so excited about the game. Like, a month just seemed like forever before we were able to play. 2 weeks is now been like a struggle because it's just been so exciting. You've been able to just engage us so well. I think that Rich and Renee also feel the exact same way. I'm not sure about anyone else, but I know that we are so dedicated to it and so excited for the next game that 2 weeks just seems like it's taken forever almost before the next game,
Yeah,
and looking
and
so forward to it.
yeah, and while I enjoy the game and I would love to play every week, every Friday as an adult is a hard ask. Every other
Yes,
Friday is a hard ask for a lot of people. Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
so I mean, it's one of those where you have to be to really want to play, and you have to dedicate to growing the stream. Really, at this point, it's really about it's not just the game; it's also the stream because we've
Yeah.
established ourselves as playing every other Friday on
Yeah.
online. So I want to keep that going. If we need to switch the days, then we need to switch the days. That's not, that's we got to grow. We got to move, with what people can do. That's
Hmm.
part of it. Is we need to adapt to what people do. We are all adults. We all have a real life, um,
Yes.
and that's going to happen. Um,
Hmm.
as it is, I wasn't sure I was going to talk about this here, but most of the people I've already been talking with, we are actually losing a couple people from Sydney and
Oh,
Ian have to leave the group.
really? Oh, I was not aware of that. Oh my
Yeah, they said
gosh.
they're going to stick around. Ian hit me up saying they just don't have the time to commit to it, and
Okay.
they don't want to mess anything up, so they're going to stick around for the next couple.
Okay.
They'll be there for the next couple, but then they're going to have to step.
Well, darn.
So it gives me some
Okay.
time to work on working their characters out,
Hmm.
and things. So
Well, darn, I always loved their dynamic.
yes,
They brought such a unique dynamic overall to the game, and them as a couple. Even though like in the game they're not a couple, but them in real life, it made for such a unique character development and so much fun, like hearing them like banter off of each other. That and the fact that like that was one of the nice things about, like, during COVID, like, all of us are disconnected.
yep,
We're all separated. Even you and Renee, you're up there and Renee is down in the basement. You can't really go off of each other. They're
yep,
in the same room traditionally, so they're able to bounce off of each other quite well. Like they're at the table with us. There's a different kind of dynamic with all of us when we're together versus separate. We still have it, but it's different in the same
yep,
sense. But they've always maintained it because they've still been together for the most part. Sometimes they're in a different room, but you can really see a difference when they're together, how they actually bounce off of one another.
yep,
And it kind of like makes me a little envious, the fact that they actually have that none of us are actually able to actually um, you know engage in that as well, because they are. So that's really unfortunate that they're.
Yeah,
I understand. I know they've been having some struggles, especially over the last 2 months. A lot of personal stuff
yeah.
that they've been able
I'm
to not do.
I'm also what I'm gonna miss Ian's songs. The fact that he was making up songs
Mm-hmm.
bells. Talk with Botanicals is gonna stick with me
Oh my
forever.
gosh. Yeah. Uh, well, darn. That's So are we looking at maybe we need to get someone else to
I'm
potentially
looking
join up?
at the possibility of bringing one, maybe two people in.
Okay.
Got to find the right people. There's I'm in talks with someone right now. Um, we got to see. Um, won't really know for probably a week, probably a couple weeks. So,
Okay. All right.
but
Well,
there's some stuff being bantered about.
okay. Did you want me to see if because I have a few friends that I know that are like act that play in other games. I have a friend at work that plays. There's actually a neighbor that I think that plays as well. I don't know anything about what they've done. I can ask around if you're interested at all.
Okay, possibly.
Okay.
We'll see.
I won't say anything. Just hit
Yeah,
me up in case if
we'll see.
something comes up.
In that kind of a case, because it's somebody that I don't know, I would want
Yes.
to meet them ahead of time,
Of course.
kind of hang out, have like a session zero.
Yep.
Sit around, whether it's at like your place, especially if it's somebody you know. Maybe meet at your place, hang out, have a couple of beers, talk about D&D, talk about what they
Yeah, of
want out
course.
of a game, things like because to me that's important. It's one that they're going to get what they want out of the game, and that they also that I think that they're going to fit with the
Yes.
cohesion of the group.
Which I always felt like we had a very good cohesion, good good dynamic between all of us.
This group, I think, has been one of the best as far as the way that their characters interact. I've been really happy with this, and that's one of the things I'm going to miss. I mean, the way that the relationship between Lauka and Klimbrum has developed.
I know,
That's
yes.
going to be a tough one to write out. The um, the just Ian's character overall, I thought has been just a blast. The way he plays his low intelligence and by just
He's
mispronouncing
not
words
just a
and
stereotypical horny bard,
no,
like he's beyond, he's more than that.
yes,
And it's much deeper. Sure, he is that, but he's very like good tactically. He's very good with interaction with other like NPCs and advancing the story and our agenda. He's very good at talking and like deception and intimidation and things like that to like get information that we might need. So he's not just, you see all these memes about the horny bard, for example. Sure, he is that to a point, but it's more than that at the same
hmm
time. Like you said, he actually invests in writing in songs for it. It makes it a lot more engaging,
yep,
and like that's a big loss on both their ends, on both Sydney and Ian. But I can understand that.
yep.
They've been having some struggles, especially over the last few months,
Yeah, I
so
mean,
they'll be
and
missed.
that's the thing. I mean, we're gonna go through growing pains. We're gonna have people coming in and out as things happen.
Mhm.
Um, but hopefully we can get some other people in, so at least one more person, because I'd like to have at least five in the group.
Yep.
Because four you can do. It's just a little tougher. I have to dial back a little bit on some of the stuff that I would gonna throw at you guys. So
Yeah.
it's one of those I got to kind of dial things back a little to make it so that it's challenging, but not just a TPK. Because I don't want to just TPK. If the dice go that way and something happens, then we work around that. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay. Well, let me know. I'll kind of follow up on like the two leads that I might have, just to kind of see like how they're playing right now, if they're in something that they're dedicated on. Like I said, I have a coworker at work and a neighbor that's about like 5 houses down. I think that they like the coworker I know definitely does play, but he has multiple games,
hmm
and I've kind of talked to him like about like what we do, and I'm not sure like if that's actually something that he would be interested in. My neighbor, I don't know as well, but I know that he may be more interested in it. I know that he's a really big nerd. He has his own like nerd basement, and he's played before, but I won't
And
follow up on anything yet.
yeah, and I'm also looking at the possibility of bringing in some guests, things like while we're still playing.
Okay.
One in particular, who was on our Nerds with Alcohol show a couple weeks ago,
Oh, cool.
Dave, and so yeah, we've talked with him about it, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to. So I may hit him
Ah,
up
awesome.
and see if he wants to jump in for a session or two.
And it'd be nice to have like to have that balance again of veteran players and the newbie players still. Like
Mm.
we still have like Rich, Renee, and I who are still the newbies, even though we've been playing for nearly 2 years now. But you still
Yeah,
have
you're not so much newbies anymore.
no, but compared to I feel like we've come a long way, especially since those first sessions. Uh, but still, compared to those that have multiple years of experience and many games under their belts. This is just our first game that we are going through, and I'm
Hey,
sure. How many games have you have overall under your belt? Just curious.
I couldn't count. I have no idea. I've been playing since
Yeah.
1979.
Yeah, so like you have so many games that you've seen like from like beginning to an end of some sort.
I've been
This is still our first. I consider us still newbies compared to
yeah.
those that would be
The
like I'm same thing. I'm guessing same thing with Russ. He's got multiple games that he's seen from beginning to end, multiple
I'm
characters that he's played.
so the other games that I'm in, I'm the one that both of those are once a month. Um, the one that I play in, we've been playing for at least 9 years with the
One
same
campaign,
characters.
and you're not at level 20 yet.
Well, it's 3.5, so there's really no level cap.
Oh,
But
okay.
we're about to hit level 13.
Jeez. Wow.
And the other one that I'm running has been going for 5 years now, I think.
Okay.
5 or 6, yeah, 5 years. That's the one that I started online to play with my buddy over in Ireland,
Right. Yes.
and that one's been going for let's see, 4 years. It's been going for 4 years, and they're level 7, maybe
Four
level 8.
years at level 7.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's once a month.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, and we've missed with like this last month. We missed that we were supposed to play last Saturday, but one of the guys, again, real life gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Had water damage, a bunch of water damage in his house that they just
Oh.
realized and had to rip out a whole section. Like they had a little breezeway between their house and their garage,
Oh.
and it was all of it was water damage along with one of the walls of
Mm.
the garage. So they were ripping everything out and
I
and and getting everything in there. So
I
and
know the horrors of that.
so they brought a dumpster in, and they only had it for a few days. So one of the other guys was over there helping them rip everything out, and one of the other guys, his parents haven't been doing well. Um, they've been having some medical issues, so he was like, I'm exhausted. I could really use the time
Mm.
off. So we're like, you know what? We're just gonna cancel it this month. So we'll
Okay.
catch up next month. Which sucks when you're only playing once a month, but it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, it would be, it would be really great to have someone like, we kind of been talking about guests for
Yep.
since the beginning. It would be really cool to have like a guest in for session or two, or maybe more, depending on how it goes. Um, Still sucks about Ian and Sydney, but I understand that, like you said, life gets in the way and they have other priorities that they need to get dedicate to.
Yep.
So they'll definitely be missed. Same way that same with Ed. He was I know that he had a lot that prevented him from being able to dedicate as much time as he did. He's a busy guy, professor, and all that. It was difficult for him to do it, and he was
He had the
great.
longest commute too.
Oh, did he? Okay.
He had about a 45-minute commute, 40-minute.
Oh yeah, that's rough. You guys are only about 15 minutes away from me, and that's after I moved.
Yeah,
Before it was about
and
two
like
minutes.
20 minutes from Russ and 20 minutes from for Rich.
Yeah, that's reasonable. If it's under half an hour, I think it's pretty reasonable. But once you get past that 30-minute mark,
Yeah.
especially if we're going to midnight, that would be
Yeah,
difficult.
that's the thing. I mean, when Ed stepped out, we were still on. Well, we had gone to online, but with the commute stuff, that was all on Sundays.
Yeah,
So that was when we started with
yeah,
Sunday this thing. But yeah, we'll see what
yeah,
happens. I'm hopeful that we'll get at least one more uh, person in that'll fit with the.
yeah. So would you be bringing like I'm guessing you would bring like if that happened a brand new character from the ground up that would be at the same level that we were at that we're currently at 7, or I'm guessing that they wouldn't be lower but like too much
Well,
lower if anything
well, most likely I'd bring them in at the same level just to keep things even and
in
make it easy.
balance. Okay. And just be able to write it in similar to like I wasn't sure like how that typically done because I'm guessing it would be pretty difficult to balance it out. Like if they were, let's say, like level 4 to when all of us are at level 7.
Yeah, that would get them killed.
Yeah. So
That's like
okay.
that's like take your kid to work day when you're going into a dungeon. It's just not a good idea.
Yeah, but just in terms of balancing that, or like if one of us had like a one of us actually our character did die. I'm guessing that would we come in at a like a brand new character at that same level as well,
If you were making a new
probably
character rather than getting raised,
resurrected.
yeah,
Yeah.
resurrected or whatever, then yeah, probably it would be
Okay.
making a new character.
But at like 7th level or 8th
Right.
level, if we happen to be there by the time that happened. Okay, just curious. I'm asking because like I actually had like a while ago I was like asking you about like like hey like what's everyone like I asked like Russ and Renee like do you have like like backup characters in case if anything happens to your main one right now, and I actually have like I think a really cool character concept in case if anything does happen, but it kind of only works if it's like at our current level like at like a level 8 or 7 or 8, and I'm not even sure if you would actually go with it. I just happened to think of it, and I thought that it would be like a cool concept. But like I said, it kind of only works if they're like at level 7 or 8 at the start of it, not at
Yeah.
level 1. So,
Well, I'm also open to like if somebody's not enjoying playing the character that they created, like
mm,
um uh talking with Ed, one of the issues that he had was that he found Bennett got boring for him.
oh, okay,
He had a concept for him, and I liked his concept, and he played it. But he said that it was so one dimensional that it actually became kind of a bore because there
hmm.
was only so much he could do,
He
and
was just a standard human fighter, I
yeah,
think, right?
he was a cavalier. So he was actually it was a subclass, and so basically what he was a human shield. He could shield other people. Like if someone
Okay,
went to attack you, he could actually interpose himself between you and that person if you were within a certain range,
okay,
and um, give additions to your armor class. And I think he could even take some of the damage.
hmm. Just
Um,
be the tank
yes,
essentially in that shield.
he
What you're saying?
was completely a tank, but he said he found that kind of dull, and so it
Hmm.
was one of those things where if if that were the case, then and he wanted to make a new character and bring that in, then we could retire Fennec and
Oh,
and
okay.
introduce this new character type of thing. So if anyone, they did it in Critical Role even. Scanlan, Sam stopped playing Scanlan for a while.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I haven't
and he
listened to anything on campaign 1
yeah, and he
yet.
brought in a new character, um,
Oh,
Garrington, um, and he played him for a while. I don't know. I think he went back to Scanlan later,
okay.
but there was a time where Scanlan wasn't part of the group, and Sam was still playing, but he was playing a different character.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that. That's interesting.
I haven't gotten to that part yet in there, but I've heard about it. So,
Mhm.
But yeah, it's one of those things where if you're tired of playing a character, then yeah, you can that character can go fuck off for a while and
Oh, I'm definitely not. I am just having a blast as Euchariah, and I think that pretty much everyone else is really. I know at least Renee and Rich are enjoying their characters. I think very much, and I am too. I'm just like in case of something were to happen because I'm a very squishy wizard, and it may not happen, and it could be a point where like there's some big thing that just completely takes me out, and like revivify may not even be an option. um I want like I had like a backup character concept that I had that I would bounce off you in the future, but I was just I was just curious about it, that's all. So because I'm sure that's pretty basic that everyone has like multiple characters that like in the backup. Someone messaging.
yeah.
Oh, Renee saying that she loves Climbroom.
Yeah. Hey, you've only
Like,
painted her 3 times, Renee.
yeah,
So
right. So I wanted to at least, I know that we're getting close to the end here, but I
yeah,
at least wanted to mention a couple things. Like for Father's Day, my wife and my kids got me some pretty cool D&D stuff. One being a new shirt that says
awesome.
"Awesome Dads." Uh, exp- uh, Explore dungeons and slay dragons, and it's like a
Nice.
1970 style like
I
coloring with
like
a
that.
D&D D20 dice. And then also because my kids are getting kind of interested in D&D, I've done a couple like kids D&D like one shots, and then I did that Harry Potter one
Hmm.
that I kind of made my own for Halloween last year. My kids are actually interested in actually playing. They keep on saying we want to play, play actual Dungeons and Dragons. Like we want to do what you're doing. They keep on hearing it. I won't allow them to listen to the podcast because there's just too much swearing on it, and too much, probably too much sex. I don't want to expose it to them to that level yet, but they're obviously interested. They hear about what I have to say. They've seen me play around with like creating a character on like Hero Forge, and just overall, and like the little bit of games that we've played. We played like two like ones, and those kid ones are pretty cool. Like like they already have like pre-made characters, and it's like already a story where basically it's like all these kids are like graduating, and they're becoming like essentially growing up and becoming like warriors for their town, and they fight like a couple monsters, and then they pass their trials essentially. And it can actually be up to like 5 characters, but my boys and my wife each played one character, and then it took like an hour and a half, and it was like a quick little one shot where they just fight multiple bad guys essentially, and then in the end they get something in it. And that's what I did, same thing with the Harry Potter, for example. I kind of took the same thing and just applied it to more Harry Potter world, but they're actually interested in actual D&D. It's like I know that you played when you were like 9 years old,
Yep.
but I'm trying to think of the best way to like get that into for my boys. And one thing that my wife got me also was this thing called the Young Adventurers collection,
Okay.
and it's a series of 4 books that kind of like give. It's basically just the player's handbook, essentially, just with a lot of like nice artwork and some basics about like every like class with some spells, some like history of like some of the legendary like characters that I think are actually built into the lore. And then it kind of goes into like actual like certain spells like prestidigitation or magic missile, and kind of like explains it so that way it's a little bit easier for the kids to actually um, understand it, with a lot of visuals and a lot of really great artwork. I don't know if you can see that pretty well.
Yeah, I can see it. That
Um,
does look really good.
but there's one for like wizards and spells, and basically any magic user, like monsters, and then like standard warriors, and like and more like like non-magic users, and then like dungeons and that. So haven't actually had a chance to read it with them yet, but I'm hoping that that'll pique their interest even more and get them more understanding of it. And I'm actually kind of hoping, do you happen to have the actual what's it called, the not Fandolin, what was the Fandolin module called?
Oh, uh the Lost Mines of Fendelver.
Okay, that's right. Do you have like the actual like
Phy-
booklet of it?
Physical copy? No.
Yeah. No, it's
I
just
have I have a
digital.
PDF of it.
Okay. I might be asking you for that because they've been actually asking for it. I thought that maybe that would be a like I would work with them on creating characters on D&D Beyond, and I'll probably sign up for the uh, one of the what's the what you can sign up so that way you can actually
Oh.
like create everything. And
Oh, like the hero tier or
yeah, I might actually invest in doing that for like the year or something like that, and so that way they can all create characters. Because my wife, Jamie, expressed that okay, if the kids are doing it, I'll do it too. So that way we can do it as a family. And then I was actually going to try and DM and start maybe, since we just went through the Lost Mines of Phandelver, I would be pretty familiar with it and how it's run. Then that may be a good introduction to like do with the
it'll
kids.
be
Maybe do
it,
some slight tweaks.
yeah, I'll say it'll be a little different than what I ran, but it'll be pretty similar.
I'm sure that if I read through it, I would um, know exactly like what you probably changed,
Yeah,
what we experienced. So
that
you
actually
obviously incorporated it into your world.
yeah, that actually came as part of the um Dungeons and Dragons starter kit.
Okay.
Starter set. Nope, that's
I just thought that that would probably be what I would want to start with, since I was somewhat familiar with it. I would just probably be able to DM that probably the best for my kids to get introduced to it. And maybe we would play like once every couple of weeks, and they can create their own characters, and we can like have our own session with it.
yeah,
So
so right now, you look on Amazon, actually is uh it's 5 ready to play characters, 6 dice, 1 adventure book, Lost Mines of Fendelver, 1 rule book, 1 character sheet. Um, it's like 12.89.
oh yeah,
The
oh yeah, I see that.
Dungeons and Dragons starter set.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, then for sure.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to get the actual module, that might be a way to go. The other thing though is if you're gonna get your boys into it, you got to get them each a set of dice.
I totally would do that. I would actually go online and like have them choose their
Yep.
own ones out.
You gotta let them pick their own dice too. That's the thing.
Oh, of course. I would definitely go that route. So,
Or you can take them
but
over. You can take them over to like Guild of Blades or Eternal Games or someplace like that, and let them pick out their dice in an
yeah,
actual like local game store.
yeah, I would definitely let them choose their own dice out to play with. But like working with them, going on D&D Beyond, creating their own character. That's why I think that I kind of have to sign up for that yearly pass. I think in order to get to be able to have that created and have like all the options available. I think so that way I can do it. But that's why I was asking if you happen to have like the hard copy. If you don't, then yeah, I'll invest in doing that if it's just
Yeah, I do
fifth
not. I had the
less than
PDF because we were
$15.
playing. I was using my computer to run it,
Okay.
so I just did that. I would actually prefer to have the PDF and actually that price on my in my collection, but um, that's the only way to get that module actually is through the starter set. They don't actually sell the module by itself.
I should probably also then invest in the standard player handbook and the DM the
The DM's
dungeon master
guide.
guide.
I would
That's
suggest
true.
at least those two, just to look through. It's a lot for me. It's easier to have the physical copy to flip through.
Okay.
Um, well, I've Candlekeep Mysteries. I'm fine with having that as just a D&D Beyond thing. The Ravenloft book, I'm actually looking at getting a physical copy of because
Okay.
I want that for some of the reference material. Um, I've got Tasha's, a physical copy of Tasha's. I got a physical copy of Xanathar's. I've got a physical copy of Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Um, those are all things that they're great for reference material, but they're great to have on hand. So because I can flip through a book faster than I can search online.
Yeah, but I think for D&D Beyond, you kind of actually you have to buy it all on
You
your
do.
account in order to have
Um,
access to it.
you do, and that's actually one of the nice things with um, Russ has most of that stuff already. So that's why our group has been um, it's kind of cool with the way it is, and we might be able to figure something out even where we could actually possibly even link it into my account, so you would have access to all those books.
Oh, that would be awesome. If
It
like
would
you mean
just
like
be
a
a
separate
matter
game
of,
almost.
'cause I think I can make, even if I have an account, if even if I have a group, because I can have up to like 5 groups, and I only have
Okay.
2 right now
Okay.
um, on my account. And if we create another group, I think I can actually assign Dungeon Master level uh, to someone else. Now, I would always have access to it because it's on my account,
That's
but it's
fine.
one of those things where you would actually have the same level of ability to be able to see all the
So
characters.
that way they can when they level up they still have all the because certain things are blocked unless if you actually have access to that particular module.
That module
You
or that book, they don't.
Yeah,
You can't actually get them yet.
you won't be able to get certain feats like Xanathars, for example,
Right.
unless if you actually have Xanathars bought on D&D and Beyond.
Right.
You won't be able to choose any of that stuff in terms of the
Exactly.
feats and the items or anything else that might be associated with
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, so we can definitely
So
look into that and
I
see what we
like
can
that
do.
if we can
So
talk offline and that
yeah,
because the boys are becoming interested. I'm starting to do some research on it, and that's where I think that I would want to start is similar to the way we started with the Phandalin and the Lost Mines module. I think that would be like probably something that I could. It took us a year to get through it with them. I'm sure that it would take at least that long too before figure out what comes next. But and whether or not they actually enjoy it, I think that they would. Um, but I thought that would be one of the easier introduction modules, unless if you have any other recommendations that you would know of that would be a good introduction for children.
that one's not bad. That's a good one just to do as a module. It depends on if you want to continue a campaign after that. They've come out with a bunch of other ones. I haven't looked into like Rime of the Frost Maiden, um, or anything like that yet. And it also depends on where you want to set it. I mean, create your own world and
Yeah,
that thing.
at this particular point, I don't really have that like high level aspirations. I'm just trying to bring that type of like gaming to them and have them experience it
Hmm.
essentially at this particular point. So I think that I would probably run that module pretty close to the way that it's written. I would think. We'll see how it
Which
goes.
it's written for Forgotten Realms.
Okay.
So
So I think that's probably where I would start. I'm sure that there's a way to like if it like I have some sort of inspiration and things go so well that we want to continue on with it. I don't know how dedicated my kids are going to be.
right.
I'm guessing that we won't be able to do like 3 hour sessions. I'll have to limit it to like an hour or two, almost
Hmm.
max,
Yep.
with at their age right now, just
Kid
to maintain
attention
their
span.
concept.
Now,
Yes.
granted, my buddies and I, when I was their age, we were playing for 3 4 hours easy. But that was it. We weren't playing with our parents. It was just us. It was
Yeah.
we were sitting around the table. We were sitting around like in a basement or at a table, and we were just
Mhm.
playing. And there were only 3 of us or 4 maybe at a time.
3 or 4, and one of you was the DM?
Yeah, one usually the DM had a character in there too that
Oh,
was
really?
playing as well.
So you're DMing and playing a character. That's
Yep.
gotta be challenging, especially even at that age.
It is, but it's one of those where you were basically playing an NPC is what it came down to. But
Oh, okay.
um Yeah, but I was also playing a much different version back then. A very simplistic version. I was playing the old Red Book version. It was the like
Oh, okay.
the second version that ever came out. The first version was like a white book. Um, that was basically just it was Gary Gygax's very first rendition of adapting a tabletop war game. Like they had a bunch of like Civil War. Like, it was basically like Warhammer, but it was
Hmm.
like Civil War. They would set up Civil War battles and play them, Revolutionary War battles, and he adapted that type of tabletop wargaming into D&D, and that's what it originally was. And then it evolved into more of a role playing game after that.
Okay.
And what I played was kind of like the first version of that role playing, was the Red Book, where you had four classes, I think it was. Fighter, no, five. Fighter, thief, wizard, elf, or dwarf.
Dwarf was
Dwarf
its
was a
own thing.
class as well as a race, and so was elf.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh.
And you really
All
only
right.
played first through sixth level in basic edition.
Oh, really?
And then
Okay.
after sixth level, you went to expert edition. And then
Okay.
they had another version after that. So there's the red box, the blue box, and then I forget what the black box or the
All right. Now I would want to stick with what I know with
yeah.
5e. That's why also I wanted to run probably the Fandelver mission just because I'm most familiar with it. I know that we skipped over a couple things for like in that like with the Green Dragon, and I think maybe one or two other things. But for the
Still
most part,
there.
I know. But I think for the most part, we did get through the majority of it based off of what you were saying. I think, or like what you told us about. I think that was like one of the big ones that we just kind of left on the table essentially. I can't. I think we followed through on all the other side quests that we ever came across. But I thought that that would probably be like my best option to try like my sense of truly DMing for them since they're the most interested, and I would probably have to play around with it since it's just three characters versus seven. I might have to tone it down, especially for like for three like brand new characters that two of them being young children. Uh, I'm sure that I can, if I have to, I'll fudge the dice rolls on their behalf or something like that if I need to make it fun for them. But they've seemed so interested in it, and even though they don't really have a good concept of what it is, other than what I kind of ran with the like a very simplistic version, like with that was made for children. This being the real thing, I've been a little hesitant on introducing to them, but I thought that would be the best way to do it. So yeah, if we can figure out something that if you're willing to create something in D&D and beyond like a separate game that you can give me like rights to, let me know what I can do to compensate like the yearly fee for it
Oh, I'm not
or
worried about that.
whatever, but to getting access to it so that way they can create their own characters that have access to all the options for all the game. Like I would want to keep it similar to like what you have, like with Xanathars, but maybe avoid Tasha's and that since depending on what they want, so that way they have all the spells and feats depending on what they want to go with. But it's gonna. I know that they're not gonna finish it within a year. It would take probably like 2 years before we get through it, depending on
Hey,
how quickly we go and how
ever
much
you know
we play.
you need an extra player, just let me know.
I'm sure they will probably have sessions. Like and even like I want to get like I would love to have like Rich's girls, for example. I know that Rich played like he's the one who introduced me to that kids version of D&D too. I think it would be cool to have them included, or maybe we have like a big family thing where we have like group like like they may have something that they've been doing it, but we introduce like if you Renee or anyone else is able to join up and we have like a big gaming session. I
We could
think that would
have
be really
we
cool
could
as
have
a
the kids
family.
gaming session where the kids play and the
Yeah.
kids go to bed and then the adults play.
I that would be amazing. Yeah. So
But all right, well we should wrap things up. We're at
yep.
an hour and 40 minutes. So um thanks a lot for coming out, guys. Thanks, Pete, for joining me.
Yep.
Renee did get home, but she wasn't able to. She didn't jump on. She jumped into the chat, which is um and but yeah, we will be playing this Friday, as it says down below. Uh, this
Hmm.
Friday, 7 p.m. right here on Twitch. Should be a great time. Russ and I will be here tomorrow night, 8 o'clock for Nerds with Alcohol, and then 2 weeks from tonight we'll be back. We should be back for the next Tavern Talk. Got it right that time, not
Yes.
Tavern Nights, Tavern Talk.
Tavern Talk. Yes.
And my headphones are behind you. That's why. Yeah, her headphones are right over here on her desk. So she didn't want to run in. Could have run in and grab
She
them.
could have.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So but yeah, join us tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, and then definitely join us Friday night at 7 for Tavern Nights. It really is a lot of fun. We're having a blast doing it. I'm having a blast running it. I'm really interested to see where you guys go with this. And as far as how long you're in Greyhawk, well, up to you guys. Depends on how long it takes you to work through everything you got going on. You guys are getting more and more, and depending on what you decide to do in Greyhawk, you could wind up with even more stuff that you want to do while you're there.
Oh, considering how long it built up to get here, I don't think we're in any rush to get out at this point in time. Unless if you throw something at us that is like, okay, like, well, you have to leave like right now to like go here and take care of this. But
I'm actually kind of interested in. I'm really excited about this too, because this is actually one of the first times that I've ever done an actual urban adventure where it's actually based in.
Okay.
Where a lot of the stuff that you guys are doing is going to be outside.
That's going to be really cool. Like the whole Zadash, part of the campaign and Critical Role. There's a lot that was going on in there in terms of the political, aspect of it. And I'm curious if we happen to come across anything like that. I'm sure that there is. So we've, like you said, we've scratched the surface. We've only been in there less than a day, essentially, and we've just essentially kind of wandered around and hit up the shop. That's about it. There's a lot more to do. So
yep, yeah, you guys have hit a jeweler's, the family jewels, and
family jewels. That's oh my gosh,
and the awkward staff, magic shop, and yeah, so you got a lot more to do. You haven't gone to Clerksburg yet. You haven't gone to the Garden Quarter or the High Quarter yet.
No, they want to go to church. They want to go to their temples.
Yes, which all the temples really are up in the Garden Quarter.
Yeah, so got a lot to visit right now and follow up with, which has all of its own RPing and follow up and questioning and everything, and then whatever else that we want to be doing. And then there's the waiting time. We have stuff that's going to take like a week or two before we get here, so we already know we're going to be there for that long, whether or not we're just waiting around not doing anything. But chances are we're going to be following up and doing something every day almost, I'm guessing. But I'm excited, can't wait.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. So like I said, join us here this Friday, and I think that will about do it. Oh, I was drinking in honor of some stuff that that's going to be coming up in the next couple. I was drinking Four Giants tonight, just so you know.
Oh, nice.
Just give you an idea of what. So
I was drinking Captain Dynamite IPA.
Captain Dynamite, Dynamite
from New Belgium. Voodoo Ranger. It's one of their Voodoo Ranger styles.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one. But all right. All right, well, yeah, I was waiting for that. Renee caught it. But yeah, I will talk to you on Friday, if not before. And everyone else, have a good night. Come back tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Russ and I will be here. So I think that will about do it. Have a good night.
All right.